What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Yesterday, we did have that Nintendo Direct air, and it had a ton of different announcements there and some genuine surprises. So we're going to go over every single thing that was announced there here today. Also, we are going to be talking about, yes, the big reveal, that being Metroid Prime 4, as it has now resurfaced, looking maybe better than people were expecting. And we do have Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree reviews going live, and some are even calling for this expansion to be Game of the Year. So if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you'd like to learn more about that and support the channel further, click the join button down below this video. And we're going to start today with a rating that popped up online in Taiwan that has to do with maybe that PlayStation Classics tier for the premium subscription. We can see this posted up. This is over with Gamatsu, noticing that Time Splitters has been rated for PS5 and PS4 in Taiwan, and as they point out, 99% likely it's the PS2 version for the PlayStation Plus Classics catalog. Now, they posted up an image of Future Perfect and then later corrected themselves. Oh wait, the first Time Splitters game, because there are technically a number of them. And I mean, the original Time Splitters on the PS2, while I would go to later iterations technically for just a better game, maybe we could see all of the different Time Splitters go into the service, or a few of them. So the first one, it did have like a single player and stuff, and I feel like based on what we've been seeing with these games going into premium, that's where the majority of the focus would be if you wanted to play through it, maybe with trophies and stuff. But I think there is a big opportunity, maybe even for online multiplayer, if Sony can get that going for their PS2 emulator. But we, of course, just saw them really tap that service and that emulator very recently, so maybe they continue to expand on it with games like Time Splitters. So now, yeah, we're just keeping an eye out maybe each month to see when they finally are ready to put Time Splitters into the service, and that'd be really exciting to have that game go in along with trophy support. Also, we did get an update for the PlayStation Portal, this more or less fixing some issues that people have pointed out, and one in particular that was really annoying for anyone who was traveling with the device, and we can see this over on PlayStation blog. And they say that there is now sign-in screen support for select public Wi-Fi networks, which again, this is pretty annoying. So now, of course, when you have your PlayStation Portal updated to this latest firmware, you will get that sign-in screen that you were missing out on completely before, because public Wi-Fi, it'll like launch a web page to let you sign in, and they say now to connect to these public Wi-Fi networks, PS Portal will display a QR code for you to scan with your smartphone or tablet. Once scanned, you'll be able to use your mobile device's web browser to complete the additional validation steps on behalf of your PS Portal. So they have at least figured out a workaround there, so you won't necessarily have to launch a web browser on the PlayStation Portal. Sony is, I think, doing this, trying to avoid any kind of hacking or something that could happen, because we know that the web browser has been a pretty good entry point for a lot of homebrew and that sort of thing. You also have new visual feedback for touchpad areas, which again, a very welcomed addition, just based on my use case with it. Yeah, the touchpad can be a little weird without something like that, so good to see a little visual indicator. And then you can display battery level in percentage. Another thing that's good, because they have 3 bars up there, and it's hard to tell exactly how much juice you have left in your PlayStation Portal, your PSP, without something like that. Otherwise, it's kind of just guessing at those 3 bars. So not a bad update, definitely worth doing, so you can start signing into public Wi-Fi when you're traveling around with it. Oh, and we've talked about Beyond Good and Evil a few times here with that 20th anniversary release that apparently leaked out and is coming up at some point. Well, now we know when. We can see this posted up over on the official account with Beyond Good and Evil 2, saying, "See you at the limited run game showcase on June 20th, 2 p.m. Eastern Time," that being tomorrow, for more news about Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition. I don't know if they're shadow dropping or something. I assume they're not. This would be something to release later on, but I mean, hey, I guess that means we'll have like a physical release for it and stuff, but this is something people have been trying to figure out when it was going to release, after we have seen it being hinted at through way of trophies coming out, and even it just apparently leaking out early and then getting pulled back. So I guess we'll find out tomorrow exactly when this title's releasing. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the Nintendo Direct that aired yesterday, and it was actually just about 40 minutes. Might have been like 41 or 42 minutes. It went a little longer than I thought it would, but there was legitimately a lot of stuff packed into this presentation. Again, some genuine surprises, and finally, the big reveal for what Retro Studios had to go back and help reboot with Metroid Prime 4. We have a title for it now and kind of a release window, right? But I'm going to go through everything that was announced, and we'll show some of the direct here, but I'm moving kind of quick, so we may have to just kind of cut through and just go as I'm reading some of this stuff off. Now, we can start from the top here, as they did open with Mario and Luigi Brothership. This is the first new entry in that Mario and Luigi series in almost 9 years now, but they did show off some of the turn-based RPG elements to it, and I really like the art style here. It looks extremely creative, and it's still kind of trying to stick to what they had with things like the Game Boy Advance and the DS back in the day, but November 7th, so not too far off, coming out this holiday. Then we had Nintendo World Championships NES Edition, just kind of reminding us that it is coming out a month from now on July 18th. Fairy Tail 2, that's winter 2024. Fantasian Neo Dimension, the rumors are true. Fantasian is making the jump now to other platforms. It's going to everything, by the way, so really, really cool stuff, as that has been just kind of locked to Apple Arcade for a while, and this is a really cool game. If you've heard about it, you're like, maybe someday I'll sign up to Apple Arcade. Now it'll be most likely coming to your platform, since, again, it's going to everything. But this is the game that I thought was really creative in their use of dioramas, and they use photogrammetry, so they could try to simulate what we had way back when on, say, the PS1 with those pre-rendered backgrounds. It looks really, really interesting, so it's definitely something you won't see anywhere else at this time, so I recommend checking that out. Holiday, though, 2024. Nintendo Switch Sports gets basketball. It's a free update. That's summer 2024. Memories in Orbit, 2025. Disney Illusion Island is getting a free update that is out right now. Hello Kitty Island Adventure. This kind of reminded me a bit of like an Animal Crossing, sort of, but that is coming out 2025. Looney Tunes Wacky World of Sports. Certainly an announcement that's just kind of out of left field here. Fall 2024 on that one. Among Us free update, which, if you remember, that's what leaked out early last week and kind of tipped us off that there would be a direct this week. That is out right now, as expected. We have Farmagia. This is our farming game that you basically have a quota of at least one per direct, right? This one is at least, I guess, a little different. It's a farming RPG, sure, but it looked like you were growing your monsters for battle. All right, then, you know, a whole bunch of them in front of you, just attacking stuff with them. Okay, great. November 1st, though, 2024. Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, this being a remaster of the Wii release. Also has levels from the 3DS version included, so that's good. It's over 80 levels then when you pack them all together there. January 16th, 2025, so we'll be kicking off next year with that game. Awesome 2D platform, though, if you've never played it. In that case, yes, I would recommend it. Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake. We have a date on it now, November 14th, 2024. The game looks awesome. The battle looked great, too, because they kind of shifted into the perspective you'd expect from a Dragon Quest game, where it almost looks sort of first person at times there, but really, really cool stuff. By the way, the cover art for this looks incredible. I mean, it looks awesome, and I will be picking this one up physically day one. And then they're also going to do Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D, that being next year. Of course, the order you would play this in, if you want to go, I guess, in just for the typical like timeline of the events, it would be 3, 1, and 2. So technically this makes sense, sure. We have Funko Fusion, September 13th, 2024. Apparently, okay, Funko Pops they're getting a game. Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, that is out next week. Of course, June 27th, just wanted to remind us. We have the new Denpa Men. It's an RPG adventure. It's free to play. It's July 27th. Metal Slug Attack Reloaded. This was one of our shadow drops that released after the presentation had ended yesterday, but it's a tower defense Metal Slug game. We are seeing quite a few Metal Slug titles come out, though, and I'm mostly looking forward at this time to Metal Slug Tactics, that I guess coming out later on this year. At least it's the last update we had. Darkest Dungeon 2. We were expecting that going into this presentation after it was rated and then retweeted. It's July 15th. Then we had some Nintendo Switch Online games. Exciting stuff here, by the way. We have Game Boy Advance and Nintendo 64. For Game Boy Advance, we have Zelda Link to the Past 4 Swords. The big thing there, of course, is that 4 Swords mode, which you should be able to use just 4 controllers and play through that on the same screen. That's actually a nice touch there. And then Metroid Zero Mission, also Metroid game. And for the Nintendo 64, they did introduce a 17+ section. This is an entire app, by the way, so you're gonna have 2 different apps for Nintendo 64 at this time. It's a way for them to keep the rating on that original N64 app from being mature rated. So there you go, Turok and Perfect Dark. Perfect Dark, great game. Highly recommended here, and it does appear that they have like the widescreen settings intact and better controls, I'll say, than what they have with GoldenEye, so cool. Then we have Phantom Brave, The Lost Hero, that's 2025. Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, one of the big shocking announcements from this presentation. There is online multiplayer. They have co-op and Punisher. And this has Marvel vs. Capcom 2 included. That absolutely sent shockwaves online. So the full list of games: X-Men Children of the Atom, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of Superheroes, The Punisher, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. A really big deal though, because of course MVC2 was delisted like, a decade or so ago. Now making its return in this collection. It is going to be available on other platforms minus the Xbox, which is very strange. However, Windows Central did put out a report mentioning that MT Framework, it doesn't really have a pipeline for porting to the Xbox at this time, and that's why you're seeing these odd, sporadic releases not make their way to the Xbox. Although some have also brought up the idea that maybe Capcom is unsure about sales on the system, but it seems like if you're going to put it everywhere, you might as well also put it on the Xbox then. But we'll see if maybe Microsoft can figure something out with Capcom and MT Framework. But still, awesome collection. I'm not a big fighting game person, but I'm going to pick this up, though. I do like Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Played it a lot on the Dreamcast. Then we have Super Mario Party Jamboree. According to Nintendo, this is the biggest Mario Party to date. It also has a bunch of online modes. I thought it looked pretty cool, supporting up to 20 players. It's coming out October 17th. The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom was up next, and I guess you could almost say this is the Legend of Link, if you kind of go opposite, right? You play the Legend of Zelda, you play as Link. In this case, though, you are playing as Princess Zelda. You're setting out into the world, attempting to rescue people who are being sucked up by these pits that appear, which does include Link. And you have this staff that can create copies of items as well as enemies, these being known as echoes. And they had all kinds of different things you can do in the game, whether it's fighting off other monsters you find with these allies you make through echoes, or solving puzzles. And that's kind of how I'm viewing this, is more of a puzzle game as opposed to that top-down action-adventure style that we have with the typical Zelda title. Coming out, though, September 26th, so not too far away, and I think this is a genuinely interesting direction for a top-down Zelda game. I'm looking forward to it. They also are going to have a Switch Lite Zelda system that will be coming out alongside of that on September 26th. I feel like that's going to do very well. It's kind of a gold Switch Lite with like a crest etched on the back, of course, being Zelda-themed. And Nintendo has mentioned they are trying for a pretty lofty goal of, I think, over 13 million Switch systems this fiscal year. Certainly, this is playing into those plans. Just Dance 2025, that is coming out October 2024. Lego Horizon Adventures, that's right, Sony showed up here for Nintendo Direct with Aloy. Very weird times we're in right now, but holiday 2024. Stray, that's coming to the platform, holiday 2024. Fun game, though. I recommend Stray if you haven't played it. Tales of the Shire, that's holiday 2024. Ace Attorney Investigations Collection. There's a lot of big Ace Attorney fans out there who are probably pretty excited to see this one. September 6th. We have the 100 line. This is from the creators of Danganronpa. That's early 2025. Then we have Romancing Saga 2, Revenge of the Seven. That's October 24th, 2024. And then the big closeout, we now have the title Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. That's coming 2025. And the reaction to Metroid Prime 4 was very telling online, as many people thought that this was gameplay from another system, not from the current Switch. That, I think, in and of itself, is a massive compliment to Retro Studios for what they're able to accomplish here with Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Look, it wasn't easy. I mean, this thing got announced in 2017, and we're just now seeing gameplay of it in 2024. It has been more than 7 years, and technically it's not coming out till next year, so it might end up being an 8-year cycle when it's all said and done. But I gotta tell you, that game looked good. Visually speaking, it looked impressive. Still looks like what you'd expect from Metroid Prime, but there were small bits and pieces. I think there's still a lot that they have to show us about this game, and I'm fully on board. I think Retro Studios is going to do some very impressive stuff with this hybrid system. And I think this is something that will more or less be a cross-gen game. So I feel like they will take advantage of Nintendo's next platform. And that is where Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is really going to shine. So looking forward to that one. But overall, I thought the Direct was pretty good. consider this. We're in the 8th year for the system, and they show up with a direct like that had more than 32 segments for different games. Even more than that, technically, if you count the collections with all their individual games. They even showed off a new system here. So I thought, for the most part, while there were some down points where maybe don't care about this third-party game, or here's another farming game, there were enough big games and fun, interesting titles that were genuinely unique to sort of balance it all out. So I'd say coming out of this, I was pretty happy with what we saw here. Of course, I did ask the community to give a rating to this direct, and I'll give mine later on in the show. Next up, let's talk about Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. This, of course, being the expansion to Elden Ring, and it's coming out later this week. A lot of excitement around this expansion. The way that it's been described as almost being a whole other game in length and the amount of content packed in, especially for Elden Ring fans, is very, very compelling. But now we have reviews that have gone live, and we can see this posted up over on Metacritic, currently sitting at a 95. Yeah, so technically the best rated release right now is this expansion, and some in these reviews are even calling for it to be Game of the Year. Unfortunately, it doesn't really work that way, but I understand the sentiment. Anyway, we can take a look at some of the reviews here. This from Games Radar, giving it a 100, perfect score, saying the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree expansion had a lot to live up to, but gorgeous vistas, superb boss fights, and a range of fun new gear sweep you through a massive expansion that feels half as long as it is. At this point, it's almost getting boring praising From Software every time. The Washington Post also gave it a 100, saying Shadow of the Erdtree feels like 75% the size of Elden Ring, which is a massive compliment, by the way. Elden Ring, massive, massive game. A game that's already bigger than most games. Developer From Software basically made a sequel. The lowest rating I could find on the list of reviews that were submitted on Metacritic was Push Square. They gave it an 80. So it's all green reviews for this game, saying, by doubling down on what made the base game so sublime, From Software has crafted an Elden Ring expansion that's just as great as it is familiar. Shadow of the Erdtree delivers more of the same style of content you loved 2 years ago, rather than introducing a new ways to engage. That's enough to consider it a fantastic expansion, though it's hard not to feel like you're just going through the motions again. With a new land to explore, a fresh set of boss to fight, and extra lore to consume, it's so much more Elden Ring. Yeah, that's what I was expecting. I figured it'd be more Elden Ring, and I'm perfectly fine with that because Elden Ring is an awesome game, and I am really excited for this expansion. I fired up Elden Ring again, went out into the field, started getting the hang of it again, and went and found a few optional bosses. Died a few times, so, getting thrown back in the fire, but eventually I was able to take them out, and now I'm just kind of hanging out, waiting for Shadow of the Erdtree to drop. That happening here in a few days at the end of the week, and I'll be full force back into Elden Ring then when it drops. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about new games going into Game Pass for June. We can see this posted up, this over on news.xbox.com. Starting at the top here, available right now, Still Wakes the Deep. That's cloud, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. Moving to today, June 19th, we have My Time at Sandrock. That's cloud, console, and PC. June 20th, we have Keplerth, that's PC. June 25th, EA Sports FC 24, cloud, console, and PC. June 26th, we have SteamWorld Dig, that's cloud and console. Awesome game, by the way, because we also have SteamWorld Dig 2 going in with it. Same day, console and PC. Highly recommend both of those games. We have Robin Hood. This is on June 27th. Sherwood Builders. That's cloud, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. I'm not really sure what to expect with this one. It says it's an open world RPG with base building features, so I have not looked into that at all. Let me know if that's a game worth checking out there. But the one that I am really curious about is Still Wakes the Deep. This is one, of course, available day one with Game Pass. It's in there now, so I'm going to install and check this out. Looked kind of interesting, I guess. I mean, the idea is it's supposed to be sort of this immersive horror-style game, and I don't know, it at least looked different enough, so that's the one I'll check out. Others I saw people recommend were My Time at Sandrock. Don't really know if that looks like my kind of game, but still, these are all titles going into Game Pass, so there's really not a lot of risk to download and fire it up and see what it's about. And before we go to the comments of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, give the Nintendo Direct a grade. Wow, 52% just gave it an A immediately. 32% gave it a B, so Okay, wow, 84% of people gave it a B or higher. Then we have 11% at C, 2% at D, and 3% at F. I don't know how you give a presentation like this an F when Metroid Prime 4 closed it out finally, the thing people have been asking to see for like years now. My rating though, I have it right at a B+. I think if they had one really big game, like what I mean by big game, Metroid Prime 4 obviously is, but I mean like a new 3D Mario, a new big 3D Zelda game. You could technically say Animal Crossing. I'm thinking like the big sellers, the ones that draw a ton of interest and hype to it. But maybe Metroid Prime 4 Beyond will get to that level. It's just Metroid Prime has never really been there in terms of sales and technically interest outside of just kind of the hardcore gamers online. Maybe that will be the next big Animal Crossing takeoff. Will be Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. But for now, that's my only thing. It's like, if they had the next big 3D Mario game there, to me, this is a runaway A letter grade. But right now, got it at a B+, but again, 8th year of the system, I'd say that's pretty good. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Keith, who says, we still need Metroid Prime 2 and 3 remasters. I still feel like one of those is going to happen. Like 2, I think is just obvious. 3 is the one that's still kind of tripping me up because there's a lot of stuff in that game that relied on the uniqueness of the Wii, we'll say, with the motion controls and the Wii remote. So that one might be a bit more difficult to get done, especially within maybe the budget that they're setting for a release like that. Still though, I think it would be a good idea to have both of those ready to roll maybe next year leading up to Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. I feel like the direct where they give us the date for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is when we'll get those just maybe even shadow dropped outright. They did it with Metroid Prime Remastered. Why not with 2 and 3, which are games that I feel like will just be digital only. But I wouldn't mind being surprised and finding out that I can go out and pick up Metroid Prime 2 and 3 physically for the Switch. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Was the Nintendo Direct? What'd you think of the different announcements? Which ones were your favorite? And were you excited to see Metroid Prime 4 finally get the big reveal we've been waiting for? And then also, what about Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree? After seeing the reviews, are you heading back later on this week? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.